Tensura What If? Silver Timeline by CBCTEBAS Chapter 48 Names. Kufufufu. Well then, Rimuru-sama. Noir walked towards them and bowed. As per ordered, I have completely charted the entire Orient universe and recruited suitable pawns to operate. Impressive. Less than 200 years. Rimuru clapped his hands, with Jahil and Lilith joining in. Jahil, Rimuru turned to him. We'll have to postpone the operation a few years from now. Got it, boss, Jahil nodded. Rimuru plans to keep his word and name Noir, however with the potential loss of strength. Rimuru doesn't want to consecutively name others. Let's see, Rimuru trailed off. What was the name I gave him back then? Noir. Rimuru stood up from his seat with a serious expression. Yes. Noir kneeled to the ground with his right hand to his chest. For being the first one to finish your task, and for staying loyal to me even in another time frame. I give you the name you're all too familiar with. Diablo. I thank you, Rimuru-sama. Diablo teared a bit as magic started to coil around his body. Hey, he actually took 20% of my magicules. Rimuru sat back down. Sudden decrease of his strength has given him slight dizziness. By the way, boss, Jahil said as he pours Rimuru a glass. What will you do if your powers don't recover? It is a well-known fact that naming has the danger of permanently losing one's strength. It would both be idiotic and suicidal to name a lot of people, if any at all. We have some prisoners that we captured, remember? Rimuru drank as he answered. He smirked. Also, I still have a lot of orbs filled with Veldanava's magicules. Though, a few of them are being used as power source for the facilities. So that's why you had them captured instead of killed. Jahil recalled all of the dangerous S- beings currently being held in the Citadel's prison. As they continue their talk, Diablo finally emerged from the cocoon of magicules. Kufufufu. Ah, how nostalgic, this power, this body. Diablo hugged his body creepily as he continues to mutter to himself. With Diablo's return, years went by and it was finally time for the real modification of the insects. Are you two ready? Rimuru asked as he looked at the beetle and bee as they stand inside the facility of Jahil. Rimuru-sama need not worry, spoke the beetle. We will be stronger to serve you, my lord. Yes, we are prepared, cheered the bee happily as it flies around Rimuru. Jahil and Lilith are waiting in the room. The insects went inside their respective capsules for the modification. They were tied down with durable leather skinned from strong monsters. The capsule itself was made with mithril metal to contain the two in case of going berserk. All bodily functions are normal, Lilith announced as she watched over their health. All procedures are ready as well, she signaled Jahil, who nodded. Well then, Jahil looked at Rimuru, he nodded and switched the machine, starting. The capsule was seen filled with liquid. These liquids are not like the ones used for the spirits filled with magicules. This liquid is actually healing potions. Full potions to be exact. There is a reason for this change in content. Starting bone modification, Jahil announced. The end part of the capsules started to open, revealing a couple of mechanical arms. Each one is either a knife or an injection in form. Cutting in progress, Lilith was controlling the mechanical arms to operate on the insects. The knives made out of mithril are slowly tearing apart the exoskeletons and the bones from inside the two's body. The two insects screamed and wriggled in pain as they were being opened up while being restrained. The capsule barely shakes thanks to its durability. Needle 1 injecting its content. One of the needles then inject the beetle's body with liquefied orichalum into the body. The hot metal will soon circulate into the body and will be used as the base of their bones when the healing process of the potions occur. And once the wounds close, they must open it again for the other bones. No errors, shouted one of the assistant of Jahil. He has recruited gnomes that he managed to create thanks to Guren's blood data Rimuru gave him in the past. They are somewhat a sub-race of the dwarves with a height of only 3 feet. Next needle. Right, needle 2 injecting, successful. Next, needle 3, injecting, and then it continued on for hours until the final needle was injected, releasing the last of its content. The two insects have long stopped screaming and seems to have passed out. This is exhausting, Lilith complained as she wiped the sweat on her forehead. I bet, Rimuru, who was merely watching in front of the capsules, replied. Genetic modification on standby, Jahil ordered the gnomes as they removed the mechanical hands to replace the needles. Starting now, the next set of injections all came at the same time. Each needle have its own purpose and different DNA from certain beings. Hey, Lilith shouted, there's an error. Some of the DNA are being rejected. Shit, did we get the dosage wrong? Jahil cursed as he stares at the two insects starting to quiver inside the capsules. Stop for no. Continue injecting the content, Rimuru ordered. They stared at him for a second and he stared back. Jahil looked at him bewildered. It's dangerous, they'll die. Life signs are weakening. Lilith continues to inform them as she panics. Hey, if you're going to do something, do it now, they'll die in the next 30 seconds. Rimuru stepped forward and looked at the two inside the capsules. Jahil, on my command, inject these. Rimuru threw 2 bottles of blood to Jahil, who still stares at Rimuru confused and agitated but followed orders. You two did well holding on. Rimuru touched the capsules. Zijin and Apito. As soon as the two started to glow, Rimuru turned to look at Jahil, who just replaced the contents of the needles with what Rimuru gave him. Oh, what the hell, Jahil groaned as he injected the contents to the two insects. The bodies stopped glowing. Everyone looked to Lilith. Life signs are back to normal. Genetic modification successful. Lilith announced happily. The others all cheered as well. Whose blood were those? Jahil asked, surprised with how it was successful. Ah, Rimuru grinned, placed his index finger to his mouth. Secret. Hey, something's going on again. Everyone looked at what was happening to the capsules. The bodies of the two insects started secreting something like white silk, covering their entire body. Soon it also envelops the entire inside of the capsule. Ah, don't worry. Jahil reassures. They're in the process of evolution. Give them time, they'll come out once they finish evolving. And with that, the two insects, Zijin and Apito, were now named and evolved. They were placed in a different area capsule and all to keep them safe. Everyone's day-to-day life continued on like normal. So we add this to them? Lilith asked as she and Rimuru stare at their newest creation. This should make them be absolutely obedient to all orders. Rimuru smirked as he stares at it. With this, you'll have an army at your command. Ho ho, Lilith raised her hand holding the small chip. I did have something like this for my sea beast weapons. But instead of absolute obedience, it's more like taming them. What should we name it? It's your turn, right? Ah, let's call it Imperium Chip. Rimuru named. With these, the Vega critters will be completed. Lilith folded her hands in satisfaction. Are you sure the name Vega critters are what you want to call them? Of course, it's a good one, suit yourself, Rimuru shrugged. Can't wait. My own personal army of animal cyborgs, Lilith cheered in excitement. Lilith requested Jahil to hand over the leftover chimera ants to her. She planned to turn them into cyborgs that she controls. Of course, this could only be done with Rimuru's approval. He agreed as he thought these would be an additional force for Citadel. Rimuru returned to work in his office after the successful creation of the Imperium chip. You know, Velgrind trailed up as she looked at Rimuru in his office. You've been making some dangerous things since Lilith arrived. Ha ha ha, her ideas tickle my fancy. It's not like I'm planning on using those world-ending machines. Nor those plague-inducing medicine we made. So you say, Velgrind stared dubiously. Ein entered the office with a knock. Inform. Kaiser, here are these month's report on the charted universe and Central. Thanks, Ein. Ein bowed and waved at Velgrind, who waved back before leaving. Ein has been given some of the work of Lei. She focuses mainly on calculations and statistics, while Lei focus on the incidents and problems of the worlds. She then orders out groups to resolve the situation. They both work on already established and charted worlds. Another fact, Rimuru's work mainly consists of universe-scale reports, as well as report about uncharted worlds and their official addition to the ever-growing collection of gates. Well, at least you had Lilith forget about recreating an ex machina, Velgrind said as she stares at the door where Ein went through. Rimuru silently agreed. Rimuru-sama, Diablo, who has been helping Rimuru with sorting his work, called. Blanc has returned. After that revelation, a knock was heard from the door. Enter, yes. Blanc went in and bowed to Velgrind and then to Rimuru. Rimuru-sama, I have finished making the Polaris universe. My territory. For each word that left Blanc's mouth, she gets sadder and sadder in tone. But her eyes has a deathly glare that would normally kill anyone nearby. Unfortunately, all the beings in the office are stronger than her. Rimuru could guess why. Firstly is because Diablo has both an expression and an aura of superiority and mockery as he looked at Blanc. And that Blanc couldn't arrive earlier than the time of Zijin and Apito's naming. Hence, she couldn't be second or third to be named by Rimuru. Good work, Blanc. Rimuru tried to cheer her up. As expected of you. Truthfully, I didn't expect anyone to finish in less than 500 years. Thank you for the compliment, Rimuru-sama. Blanc's expression turned to one of delight. Kufufufu, congrats Blanc for being second, even if technically you'd be fourth, but I guess second is better. You really want to fight, huh? Noi, it's Diablo. Diablo smiled, correcting Blanc. Alright, that's enough out of you two. Rimuru stood from his seat and went in front of Blanc. As reward for completing your task and continued services, I name you Testarossa. Yes. I humble accept, Rimuru-sama. Testarossa soon became enveloped in magicules and evolved into a similar race to Diablo. A demon peer, the same race as Rain and Misery. Though with their host bodies, they're stronger than those two. Rimuru thought in his mind. Testarossa, Diablo spoke to the white primordial in a different day. What is it, Diablo? Testarossa eyed Diablo suspiciously. I'm just about to return to Polaris. Kufufufu, this has something to do with it. Diablo's smile grew wider. I don't have to say this, but you have been spreading it, right? Testarossa looked at Diablo and grinned. Of course, as per Rimuru-sama's wish. I have indoctrinated Polaris with it. Kufufufu, that is good to hear. Of course, this is what Rimuru-sama means by making them submit, especially with what I heard from him. Diablo recalled the memory with a smile. Those who wouldn't even understand Rimuru-sama's words are worthless trash. Testarossa spat. Now, they aren't trash. Diablo gestured with his index finger. But poor ignorant souls that need guidance to Rimuru-sama's greatness. The two demons laughed evilly that day. 100 more years and John and Violet both arrive while creating havoc wherever they go. They were actually restraining the other to make sure they arrive first. Ha! I got in first, John shouted as she opened the door to Rimuru's office. You cheated. You threw Apollyon towards me. Violet came in after her, pulling at John's hair. Ha! John fought back and pulled on her hair as well as the face. Then a small tap of a pen returned them to reality. They both froze on the spot, freezing in the floor where they were fighting. Slowly they turned their faces towards the origin of the sound. They saw Rimuru looking at them. In half a second, both were in front of Rimuru's desk kneeling with their heads on the floor. We apologize, Rimuru-sama, for this unsightly display. The two said in unison, almost like they practiced it before. Rimuru massaged his temple. This wasn't the first time this happened after all. And he doubts it'll be the last, so he gave up on complaining. Stand up, you two. Yes? Have you finished both of your tasks? Rimuru interlocked his fingers on his desk. The two, while still embarrassed and scared of what Rimuru may punish them for their display, replied. I have successfully indoctrinated Zula. Same here. Aris is now mine to command. Indoctrinated. Well, whatever. Rimuru didn't want to bother what that even means. Good work, you two. Thank you very much, Rimuru-sama. The two bowed with smiles on their face filled with satisfaction. John, from now on you'll be called Carrera. As for you, Violet, call yourself Ultima from now on. I will not bring shame to this name, Rimuru-sama. I'll make sure this name that you have given will be remembered for eternity. The two soon left, having to report a few things to Diablo. Years passed then. Lilith-sama, said the confused Aqua Sprite. Yes. Lilith, who was preparing a cyborg chimera ant, turned to look at the poor spirit. What am I doing again? They were currently in the testing area of the facilities for practical test of weapons. Lilith looked at him annoyed. She sighed. You're going to fight this newly made Vega Critter 363. Lilith grinned as she presented a 2-meter-tall mixture of humanoid beetle with mix of machinery to its body. Some of its limbs being full-on robot prosthetics. Everything set. VC-363 go. The insect cyborg's eyes gleamed looking at the unfortunate Aqua Sprite in front of it. Wah! The sprite dodged as VC-363 continues attacking it. Go VC 363. Show me what you can do. Lilith clenched her fist as she recorded the fight. Oh, I see it can do that too. Try aiming for the head, she shouted to the insect. Lilith-sama. Please stop giving it advice. No can do. Lilith gestures, crossing her arms in an X in front of her. Come on, resist some more. I don't mind if you destroy it. Lilith Dono is now a bad time. Diablo appeared out of nowhere. Ah! Lilith jumped, then she held her chest, panting. Don't do that. Apologies, Diablo bowed slightly. So what do you need from me? Lilith turned back to the insect versus sprite spectacle. I recall Lilith Dono to have created some weather machines, correct? Their largest range is 10,000 square kilometers. Yeah, I did. Do you want me to give it to you? Actually, Lilith Dono. Diablo showed a sheet of paper, giving it to Lilith, who read through it. An official request, Lilith uttered as she read through. Why do you need this many? She patted the paper. Are you gonna manipulate the weather of a planet? Kufufufu, several planets actually. Lilith dropped the paper. Several. Why do you need to manipulate their weather? Do you know the harmful effects it could have on the planets? Especially the ecosystems? Of course, Diablo nodded. I know the results and consequences of making them. But the request still stands. Rimuru-sama has given his approval as well. Diablo picked up the paper showing Rimuru's signature. Well, whatever, a formal request from Chief can't be ignored. Lilith sighed. Just take responsibility for whatever happens. Kufufufu, of course. A gnome ran towards the two. Lilith-sama. Your presence is needed, said the gnome after getting near. The two insects inside the capsules have started to come out.